So we have these layers added to our map. They're still existing in the Riverscapes viewer. I have not shown you how to get them in the project yet. So we're going to do that now. I'm going to remove all those layers from the map. What's important is that we have an AOI. We're going to use this AOI to clip our data. So if we go back to those different layers, first one we're going to do is the NHD network full or by F code. This just gives it different distinctions of perennial, intermittent, ephemeral. So if I right click on any layer, there's an option to add it to Curious, and it's just going to leave the same name. You don't need to worry about any of these source, project, paths, context, but the thing we're going to pay attention to here is this clip to AOI. So I'm going to clip to property AOI and hit OK. And what it does is take, this huge Huck10 layer, and it adds a snippet into our project with the same symbology. So it's reading symbology from the same place in Riverscapes viewer. So now anytime we open this project, our data is already in here and it's clipped just to our AOI. So we don't need to reopen Riverscapes viewer projects ever again once we have everything we want. So similarly, I would go through the different layers that I want and add to Curious, change their name if necessary, but clip to that property AOI. And if you bring in the DEM and add to Curious, make sure that you use this button, Create Hillshade. Make sure that's still checked on. And it's going to recognize that it's a DEM. There's other surfaces that exist that it could be, but when you bring in a DEM, it can recognize that that's what it is, and clip that to the AOI as well. So if we go back over here to our project that I had already preloaded with these layers, the ones I decided to use for contextualizing my riverscape are these riparian vegetation layers, which we've looked at it before. The DEM and the hillshade. You see it anytime I add the DEM, the hillshade gets added with it. I've added my slope analysis and my wetlands. And I added a roads layer we're going to use later, and that NHD layer. So basically we're at the point where we have some different lines of evidence to help us in the next steps. And before we do that, get to the actual delineation of features, we're just going to get a little more context going in our project. So with the NHD layer on, we're just going to delineate some catchments to help us further contextualize the riverscape. I've already done them in the starter project, but if you were creating your own project from scratch, if you right click on catchment delineations and run stream stats, you're going to use the NHD as a guide, because this is based off the USGS. So you're trying to delineate from a stream pixel. So having imagery and the NHD on here is helpful. But I would click down here. You can ignore this. It's just saying that Wyoming doesn't have all these available basin characteristics. So you give it a name. You can see I called it property bottom, and it's going to take a minute to run. But what you'll end up with, if it's successful, is a catchment delineation. If it's not successful, just try clicking a different spot on the map. So I actually ran this twice. I ran one for the bottom of the entire reach, and I ran one for this tributary. And the reason I did that is it's helping me understand what this specific catchment uh, boundaries are. So if I were just looking at this creek, this is, the rough boundary of what drains into that creek, um, where, all this stuff right here is actually ending up in the other one. And so it helps me contextualize these two different valleys because we essentially have two riverscapes. We have this main stem and we have a riverscape for this tributary. And so I'm going to use these delineations later to help me determine where those boundaries for these two different valleys are. So in the next step, we're actually going to start um, digitizing some features and reading our riverscape.